it's time to go. And everybody, it looks like there's already over 35 people here, which is awesome. So we can kind of get going. First of all, thanks for joining us on this. I hope you guys find it helpful. I hope everybody is doing well and safe. I'm in Michigan. We are on, almost full lockdown on things. It's gotten fairly bad here in Michigan. I think we are like the 5th highest state in total number of cases. I don't know if that's because we're doing a ton of testing, or we're near a major metropolitan area here in Metro Detroit. But it's some crazy times that we're dealing with. Other people maybe in states where this isn't as, you're not getting hit as hard. I'm not sure, but I'm glad you guys are on here. So I've known the guys at TrainHeroic and Josh for a few years, and they've been amazing partners. They've helped a lot of people in the IYCA community get started with their online training experiences. They've helped me a lot understand in our own business, how to utilize it. And as soon as all this stuff went down, I immediately reached out to Josh and said, a lot of people are going to need help. What can you guys do? And just just instantly, Josh was all over it. He's like, hey, let's get some sort of a deal out to people so that they can start and have something to go with. And I said, a lot of these people aren't going to even know how to use the platform or what to do, or like, this is just totally new to us. And I said, can you just spend maybe an hour to help us understand what we should be doing and how we can utilize an online training platform? And I mean, instantly Josh was like, yeah, let's do it. And you can see it's a Sunday afternoon, and he's taking time out of his schedule to help all of us. So I'm so appreciative of Josh for taking the time to do that. So thanks for doing this, Josh.
Got it, man. You got it.
So I'm going to let you, Josh, go ahead and kind of get started with whatever you want to start with. And I know we've discussed some questions and have some kind of big topics to talk about. So why don't you go ahead and get going? And everybody, while Josh is talking, if you want to use the chat function, you can send some messages on questions that you might have. Josh, you just don't even bother with that. I'll check the chat function and throw the questions out as they come, so that you can just keep rolling and helping everybody. Sound good?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And Jim, I appreciate you bringing us in. And here's what I'll kind of, as a disclaimer, say. I don't have all the answers. In fact, I may have none of them. The vantage point that we've had and that we've been lucky to have at TrainHeroic is that, we work with nearly 6,000 coaches, right, from various types of settings, from, tactical, I'm working with Navy SEALs, to I'm working with the LA Clippers, to I'm working with young youth athletes, so I'm working with a CrossFit gym, to I've got personal training going on, so I'm working with college athlete hopefuls, to I'm trying to get people ready for the NFL draft. So I'm working with a mom that's just postpartum, trying to get in a good place. And so from just what we've been able to see, thematically, what we're trying to do as a company is to pull out really the problems and the pains and the creative solutions that you guys are coming with. And I think really, right now we all have to just have an open mind and understanding that, hey, we once, a long time ago, right, 2 weeks ago, we're doing a job that looked very different. And we had the benefit of oftentimes training with our athletes in person, being able to move them, to do different things with them, to see them, to connect with them in person. And that's the world that we were really comfortable living in as humans, right? And that's very different than what we're afforded right now. And so, one thing that Jim and I were talking about before the call is, look, my message today is really going to be all about doing those same jobs that we were doing before. We're just changing our tactics. And coaches, we've like nearly doubled our customer base in like 4 days, right? And I don't say that to like brag by any stretch. I say that because it's been really challenging for our team to sit there and bring on new coach after new coach after new coach, knowing that, hey, we have a real responsibility to our coaches, not to sell software subscriptions, but to help them do the jobs that they want to do. And the job that I think many coaches think they want to do right now is deliver programming to their clients. And what I'll talk about today is how this is a much bigger issue than delivering programming. And delivering programming is table stakes, but let's go back to that old world we were living in. And what if you just deliver programming at the gym? What might that look like, right? You might have a whiteboard and you write the programming up there and you sit back in your office and you watch clients come in, look at it and do it, right? That would be the equivalent of if we delivered programming. And so the message that I want to get across today, and I'll go ahead and share my screen. We'll go through kind of an agenda, but really thematically, what I'd like to do is talk about how, we'll go here. Jim, could you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Cool. So I want to talk about navigating this new world, but also this concept of like, you are not your gym. Okay. You're not your gym. You're you. And clients, members, athletes, teams, parents, they're paying for you. Right. So our job as a company here at TrainHeroic, and like really our role, we think, is to teach you how to deliver you, right? To deliver that experience, to create that community that you've done such a good job of creating to date. And then we'll talk about next steps and tactically how to do this. And you guys, this is not meant to be a sales pitch whatsoever. There are many ways to do this. So try to pull the themes from what we're talking about today, and you decide which tools are best for you, right? And that might be a combination of, Facebook and email and Excel and text message. What we've tried to do here is pull all those tools under one and give your athletes a really seamless experience that delivers you, right? Keeps them connected to you throughout that. Okay, so at the end of this, I'll show you guys a couple of resources that we're putting out there. One being a free trial to our coaches, some really kind of, in our eyes, sort of no-brainer pricing for anybody in the academic market. So if you've been if you've got a .edu, a .org, a .net, if you're working for a school and employed by the school with the school email, there's some special pricing that you don't need to get the school involved to get done, but also some communities that we've created from Facebook groups that have had just such an awesome group of coaches join. We've had, I think, maybe 1,000 members join in 3 days or 4 days to this Facebook group that's all about coaching during this period. And so we're pulling in best practices from folks across the globe, across the country, and we're able to, as a community and as an industry, kind of share best practices. Okay, so my hope is to keep this short. I would like you guys chat your questions, okay? And again, I'll say I don't have the answers. I most definitely don't have the answers. What I do have is a really bright team here, and also a lot of connections to coaches like you guys, and we're trying to pull those answers. So if we understand the question, I might seek to clarify the question a bit, but if we understand the question, that will help our team go and look for resources and look for answers.
Josh, what's the name of the Facebook group? It's a free Facebook group that you said that all those people are getting on. I can type it into the chat function so people don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, great. So it's called Coaching During Quarantine.
All right.
And it's facilitated or administrated by TrainHeroic. So yeah, Coaching During Quarantine.
All one word, probably.
Yeah, I mean, there's spaces between those three. So coaching space, during space, quarantine.
Oh, there is. Okay. Cool. Sorry.
There, you got it. So I'm going to just kind of dive in. I'm actually going to dive into the product, and I'll try to weave the messaging in there. And Jim, if you feel like at any point I should stop or slow down or I should be cut off, just cut me off. I want to make sure that this is about you guys and not about me. So I'm going to do a couple of things. So first, I want to just jump on a coach account to talk about in our world how we're navigating this, right? I talk about kind of this concept of delivering programming versus delivering you and delivering an experience. And so first, take a step back and sort of analyze what type of coaching you're doing, right? So is it one-on-one? Is it personal coaching, right? Or is it team or group type training, right? And so then take another step and say, okay, well, given the type of training that I'm doing, what kind of experience was I delivering before, right? And so let me break that down. It might start with, hey, I was delivering training and I was doing personal training. Okay, so every one of my clients, every one of my members, every one of my athletes that was training with me was getting a personalized program. It was catered to them based on their goals, right? It was maybe based on some event that was happening, right? They were highly motivated by this event that was happening. Let's say I was personally coaching somebody for a weightlifting meet, right? Okay, well, now how can I do that in this new world, this digital world, right? Well, I need to deliver a personalized program to them. And then I also maybe have to create some sense of urgency or some sense of some event, if you will, for that athlete. So I need to connect with them, right, to talk about that. So that might happen on a phone call. It might happen on text message. It might happen on a Zoom call. It could happen in a tool like TrainHeroic, right, on a message board or direct message with that athlete. You know, let's just address the issue. Hey, hey, John, you were before training for this event that was happening on April 15th. The event's not happening anymore. Like, let's reset, let's recalibrate. Let's make sure that you're training with a purpose, because I can't imagine you training without a purpose. The way that you walked into the gym every day, you had real purpose, real urgency. Let's recreate that for you, right? So start there. And so I'll talk about how we're going to do a couple of those things in our world. And again, pull the tools that you think will help you do that. And if that's, pulling out the phone, text messaging, sending an email to make that connection to reset those goals, that's one tool that you can use, right? Secondly, let's send that programming once we understand what the athlete wants to shoot for. So first, what I'm going to go over just as a group is how we do that today. Okay, so how we set up one-on-one connections, how we deliver that programming, and then how you really connect, coach, get insights, make interventions, and develop those kind of relationships. Then we'll get into the group setting or the team setting. They're really both very similar. The tactics on how we do it are a little bit different. And for you, think, instead of creating an email and just sending it to one person, to establish, new timelines and new goals and things like that, you would just do it to many at a time. If you had a Zoom call with one athlete, maybe you're setting up a Zoom call with the team, right? So on my screen, what I'm looking at is just sort of a demo account that I had set up, right? And so, all right, we've got two groups that we're working with, okay? Our D1 members, which is just a big gym that we work with, and the LA Clippers, okay? So these are two different teams, okay? Importantly, the way that I'm training the athletes on this team are all individually, okay? So as a coach on TrainHeroic, I have a roster of my athletes. So I'm gonna click on athletes, okay? So here are my athletes. I've got two athletes, and I can filter those athletes by team if I want to just look at athletes within a certain roster. But the training that I'm doing with these athletes is all individual, okay? And so for that reason, I'm going to click on an athlete's calendar, and I'm going to deliver training to those athletes. Okay, so how do we do that? There's a couple of steps. First, I need to connect with those athletes. I need to get them on my roster, right? Right now, they're maybe in like a CRM at the gym, and I need to go and connect with them. Well, to do that tactically is in the top right-hand corner, I'm going to click invite, okay? And I'm going to invite an athlete to connect with me. And I need to think, how do I want to coach them? Am I coaching them one-on-one, or are they part of like a larger team or group that I'm all coaching with one sort of shared training calendar? In this case, I'm going to coach them one-on-one. Okay, and I'm going to hit next. So then I'm just going to type in their email address. Again, if you're using like a big CRM, if you have email list, just type in email addresses. Okay, so in this case, I'm gonna type in. I'm going to just go Josh@trainheroic.com. So you type in an email address. You can do multiple if you separate it with a comma, right? So I'm going to give them a message, and it might be, hey, I'm going to start delivering your training and connecting with you on TrainHeroic, right? Or whatever tool you're using, right? You're going to get your training here, but most importantly, I'm going to be here seeing what you're doing and helping to progress you through your training. And I'm going to send the invite. So what happens is we send this invite to the athlete. They get an email. It's a beautiful email with a link to actually download the app. So you're actually delivering their training not through email or Excel or anything like that. You're actually delivering it through an application if they're on an Android or an iPhone. But they'll click to download it, and they'll automatically be connected to you. They'll show up in your roster of athletes. But importantly, they're going to have a training calendar with any training that you add to their calendar. And what you're going to see on your end is what they're actually doing in real time, and then be able to respond to that, react to that, adjust training, right? And again, we're looking at kind of a personal training context right now. Okay, so before the athlete even gets there, what you'll see is you have the option, there's some filters up here. I'm filtering athletes not on a team, and under the status invited, which means they haven't yet accepted my invite. They're not active, right? They're just invited. But I don't want them to get there and not have anything ready for them, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on their calendar. And on that athlete's calendar, it's gonna start totally blank. I have full control over that calendar. So I can design training. I can design a standalone, just single workout if I want. But we have this big library on the left-hand side where you can organize your content. So if I'm a coach training many athletes or many teams, just like you were to, create Excel templates and give those to several clients or several teams, the same concept here. You're designing programs, templates, if you will, in your library, and then you're giving those to folks. You likely will have to make some small alterations or tweaks or copies. All of those tools exist to save you some time, but generally you're building the content here. Today, what I want to talk about is how to do this fast. I've been telling coaches that are just jumping into this, hey, I want you to aim fast, aim small, start fast, and stop the bleeding, right? So how do we do that? Well, with Josh, I know I need to connect with him right now. I need to keep him on his training journey, right? Keep him on his path. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to design a training session for him today. It's Sunday. He usually doesn't train on Sunday, but I'm just going to design something really quick and easy for him. Again, if I've been doing this with other clients, other members or athletes, I'm probably just copying and pasting something. But we're going to start from scratch because I want you guys to be comfortable with how that works. Okay, so I'm going to hit create session, which gives me just a blank session. And I'll whip through this part quickly. We have resources to help you guys if this is the route that you choose to go, right? But again, don't think just in terms of this tool. Think, okay, how can I aim small, start fast, and stop the bleeding? I need to send a program. I need to connect with somebody, okay? So the connection being that phone call, that text, right? Recalibrate around their goals and then get them the content that they need. And I do that in reverse order. I'd connect with them first, right? So in our world, if I wanted to deliver a training session, right, a workout in this case, to Josh, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with that blank template. I'm going to add a block. So the way that TrainHeroic's designed is every training session is designed in blocks. So we have block A. And we want this to be dangerous on day one for you. So I want you guys to be able to start really fast, to hit the ground running. So there's 1,500 movements in our library. Every movement's tagged to Coaching Points. Is tagged to a YouTube link, which gives them a direct video in the app. So if they don't know what an air squat is or an inchworm, they can see it. Coaches ask all the time, well, can I upload my own videos? Absolutely. You can add your own exercises at any point, your own videos. But again, our goal here is what? Aim small, start fast, and stop the bleeding. So I would recommend use our stuff and eventually build your own. But this can be dangerous, dangerous right now. So I'm imagining the world that Josh is living in right now. He's in a small apartment, a studio apartment in New York. He's not going anywhere. He's in his house. Okay. And so how am I going to do that with Josh? Well, I'm going to search, hey, we're going to do air squats. Okay. I'm thinking, okay, thematically, I just want him to move for 20 minutes today. So I'm going to prescribe air squats. I'm going to prescribe V-ups, right? And you'll notice as I search, when I add a block and I actually search for a movement, I'm going to have him do some burpees. I know he lives on the 3rd floor, but I feel sorry for the neighbors on the 2nd and 1st. It's just, it needs to happen. So I'm prescribing these 3 movements, and then I'm going to add one more. I know he has a dumbbell. He has a 35-pound dumbbell. He talked about that when we met. And so I'm going to have him do some swings, right? Some dumbbell swings. Okay. I want this to be like metabolic in nature. So rather than a standalone kind of A, then B, then C, then D, I'm going to pair these movements together. So I'm going to create a superset of A and B. So it's A1, A2. I'm going to do the same thing and make this, 3 movements. In fact, let's do 4. Let's go A1 through 4. Okay. Now, next I need to add a rep scheme, right? So under air squats, I'm going to select some custom rep scheme. I want 3 sets of 40. Now, this is a rep scheme I'm actually going to use throughout this training session. In fact, this is a rep scheme I'm going to use a lot. So one thing that we'll do, and you'll see this kind of riddled throughout TrainHeroic, is we'll make things as scalable as we can, okay? So one way we do that is by saving rep schemes and allowing you to do that. So I can save this. We call it a prescription. But if this was, even reps and load, right, at some percentage, I can save these things. So I'm going to save 3x40. And I'm going to call this, I'm going to actually categorize this myself. I'm not going to use an existing category, but we're going to call this at home. And I'm going to save this prescription. And so the reason I do that is when I program V-ups, instead of keying in the 3x40, I'm just going to go to at home. I've got 3x40. Burpees, it'd be cruel and unusual to do 3x40, so we're going to do 3x15. Right? And the dumbbell swings, I want 3x40. So what I've done right now is I prescribed a training session to Josh, right? And as soon as I hit publish, as soon as he accepts that invite, he's seeing this. But right now, what is it? It's just a workout, right? It's like me going up on the board and writing a workout. So I want to do some things here to personalize this a bit. And so I'm actually going to add some coach instructions up top, right? So welcome back. Look, I'll just write out some stuff.
Can you do that every single day also? Like you can change the message every day if you wanted to?
100%. Yeah, this is what we call like a session instruction. So this is specific to the session. And right now, I think the goal should be focused maybe more around connection in the session. And we've got some coaches that do a really, really creative job in doing this. And I'll get into some of that when we look at the app on the phone. I'll show you like something that we've prepared even with the Clipper strength conditioning coach, right? And it's like a message with a video, and it's really cool. But this is just a way to do this. Oftentimes coaches will talk about, hey, here's the goal for today's training. This is what you're going to feel like. I mean, again, think about the old world that we lived in. When somebody would get ready for a session, we would have that discussion with them. We wouldn't just say, here's the workout, right? Do it. Hey, it's right here. Go do it. No, it was, this is how you should feel. This is what you should expect. I'm here. I'm watching you. Okay. And so really just think about that job and, okay, hey, this is never going to be as good as you being in front of them. Let's all just acknowledge that. But, we have a real responsibility to create progress in our athletes' lives. And so we've got to be creative in how we do that. And this is like a very basic way to do it, right? So I'm going to even just say you should.
I like that you're bringing that up, though, because even if you're not delivering it, on this app, anybody that we're training, we should connect with them. And maybe, like you said, maybe it's a phone call, maybe it's an email, maybe it's text messages, maybe it's FaceTime. But I think a lot of us are thinking, oh, we're just delivering programs to people just to kind of give them something to do. But you made a really good point that they don't want just the program. They want to hear from us. So we need to figure out ways to connect with them. If you're a funny person, then the coach instruction should be funny. If you're not funny, then make it serious. Whatever it is, we need to have our personalities come out at the beginning of these training sessions so that they feel like they're kind of with us when they're doing it.
You're spot on, Jim. And there are many tactics to do this, right? This is the first, and it's just within the programming. And our CEO Ben Crookston said this really well the other day. He said, hey, if your weapon is writing, then you yield that weapon as much as you can if you're a heck of a writer, right? Just know where your strengths are and lean into those things. You're probably going to have to do some things that maybe you perceive as weaknesses right now. We're going to have to turn those into, if not strengths, at least capabilities, like delivering online training, right? That's been something that a lot of our coaches have just been kind of catapulted into. But again, here's one way to do that. And when we look at the phone here in a couple minutes, I'll show you another really cool creative tactic for doing this, right? And as it relates to programming, guys, I won't go down this path of like, can we do X, can we do Y? I'm confident that we've have coaches that do what you're looking to do from like a formatting standpoint, or hey, I want to create warm-ups and cool downs and save those things, and I want to create leaderboards and things like that. Yeah, we can do all that. I don't think it's worth the group's time to get into specifically how our system works, because I'm more interested in figuring out how a system can work for you. So take some of these principles, right? Connect, inject yourself into the training, and actually go beyond just delivering this stuff. So I'm going to click up top. Actually, I'm going to go back to the calendar. Okay. So right now, you guys, just to reorient ourselves, what did we do? We connected with Josh, or we tried to. We said, hey, I've got your training. Now, when he gets there, I want to make sure that it's ready for him. So even before I make that phone call, I at least have a method in my head on how I'm going to get that training to him. It might be an Excel template that's ready, that I've got his email address, and I'm ready to send it, right? So I'm going to click back to March up top. Check this out. So we have a session on the calendar on the 29th, okay? And it's unpublished, and we make that pretty, it's black and it's center. Nobody can see this. And the reason for that is it's sort of like in, edit mode. As a coach, you can do whatever you want. I could drag it around. I could, copy it. I can paste it. I can move it. I can tweak it. I could add stuff, remove stuff. As soon as I want the athlete to be able to see it, I need to publish it. So top right-hand corner, I'm going to hit publish. It's green. It's published. I can do that in batch up top too. So in theory, like if we had designed a week of training sessions, right, I can hit publish all, and it's a one-click, everything's published. So the beautiful thing here is that the athlete, once they accept your invite, they're getting notifications every single time that you do this. So when you publish a training session, or if you're doing this really in a sophisticated way, and you build out like a 4-week block or a 2-week block, right? As soon as you put that on the calendar, and it'll do it in bulk, then you publish, hey, Jim's, Coach Kielbaso's created a new training session for you, and it notifies them. It gives them a push notification. They're in their app actually looking at it. All right. So this is the kind of connect phase and the create phase. Okay. So I connected with them. I sent that invite, and I created a training session. Well, let's go and look at what that means for the athlete. So I'm going to take a leap here and try to connect my phone to the screen, which works like 50% of the time. So let's cross our fingers and see if it works. All right, let's get here.
Josh, while you're waiting for that, Billy asked the question, once you put someone in for a team, are you able to switch them back to one-on-one or vice versa, or are they kind of in there permanently?
Yeah, it's a really good question. You know, when we first started this thing 10 years ago, we were only training teams, right? And then we started working with some higher level teams, and coaches were like, hey, I need to do some personal stuff. We've got an upper body injury, a lower body injury. Hey, I've got a developmental guy that can't do what everybody else is doing, or I've got a younger athlete that can't do what our normal members are doing. So short answer is yes. What you can do is, so somebody can belong to a team. That means they get the team's training, but everybody always shows up in your list of athletes. So I'll give you an example here. On the left-hand side, if I click athletes, I've got, you know, Kawhi Leonard's part of the Clippers team. He's getting everything the Clippers are getting, but I'm going to actually click on athletes calendar, and I'm going to see that he's got the team's training session, right? But on the 27, I don't want him to do dumbbell floor press. So I'm going to click on that training session and I'm going to edit it. So in this case, I have an athlete that I still want to be on the team, but I want to adjust his training. I also have full control over which teams athletes belong to. So I could remove him from the team if I don't want him following that training anymore and just train him personally. And you can move him back on the team and things like that. So I know that's long-winded, but yeah, you can do it. And good news, guys, I think this is going to work, which is awesome. So let's do this. I'm going to load my phone here on the screen. I think it's up. Yeah. So Jim, let me know if you can see just my phone there. I'll minimize everything else.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. So, okay, so here's kind of the instance, right? We've got an athlete, they've downloaded the app. And I mean, this is me just holding my live phone in my hand, right? So the athlete's downloaded the app. It's totally free. As soon as they do that, right, they get that invite from you that gives them the link. They click on their profile, they're creating an account, okay? And so on a daily basis, what that means, let me get to today to kind of follow this along. But on a daily basis, what that means is when they open the app, okay, they click on it, this is what they'll see. They're going to see a calendar up top. Now, we just looked at that from the coach's lens, right? They're managing this calendar. If they were to move a training session from the 28th to the 30th, the athlete's going to see this little dot underneath that suggests, hey, there's a training session today. Now, they'll be able to actually view that training session, and every single thing that they do, you as a coach are going to have insight into. So maybe in the old world, they were handing you a physical training card saying, hey, here's what I did. Now it might be, you know, me on my couch actually going through my athletes' training cards to see what they do. And I'll show you what that might look like. But let's get into their experience, right? So the first thing they're going to do is they're going to actually log their training. Now, if in this case, this session was programmed on a different day, we'll recognize that and say, hey, did you actually want to log this today? Or are you doing it maybe retroactively? Like, okay, hey, I did this yesterday, but I forgot to log it, right? So I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it for yesterday. So the first thing we'll do is we'll give them what's called a readiness survey. And this was something we built with the Air Force Research Lab. Those guys spent a ton of time, energy, money, and testing on this. And basically what they came up with is a Likert score, 1 through 5, and 5 questions to ask to give a readiness score, okay? And so coaches ask us all the time, well, shoot, I don't want to ask those 5 questions. I want to ask something different. What we're kind of juggling with here is actually complying and getting athletes to comply and weighing that against what the Air Force Research Lab wanted initially, which was like this comprehensive 50-question survey, right? And so anyways, where we arrived today is it's static. You're not able to adjust it. What you can do is you can take it away altogether if it doesn't jive or if the messaging doesn't make sense for your athletes. But the nice thing about the readiness survey, especially in the world that we're living in now, is that you can get insight into how they're feeling, but every athlete's different. So a 3.2 on a readiness scale for me, that's a rough day. Where, you know, that might be just a normal day for Jim. Not saying he has worse days than I do, but that's just his subjective, hey, I'm a 3 here, I'm a 4 here, where I'm like, oh, I'm a 5, I'm a 5, I'm a 5. But when you see me hit a 3, when I was always doing a 5, that should suggest, hey, it's time to go connect to that athlete. Ask them what's going on. Let's create, I mean, that's an opportunity as a coach to create some trust, to just create some connection. And so the beauty of training one-on-one athletes is you can see that fluctuation over time. right? And there's some analytics to dive into that. If you're training teams, you can see it as a team, right? So imagine, you know, the coach is just like running these athletes through the ground, and you don't get that insight, right? But all their readiness seems to drop, and you're thinking, man, the training's we're really dialing up the training. That maybe is a conversation to have with an athlete and then with a coach. So that's the utilization, or the utility of the readiness scores. So I start with the readiness score, and then as an athlete, I can see how far along my journey I am today, right? So the first thing is coach instructions. Guys, hit it hard today, leave nothing in the tank for your pull-ups and push-ups. Cool, got it, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do a dynamic warm-up. A skips, B skips, lunges, a 2-minute jog. Now, this is something I don't really care if they track. I just want them to say they did it. So the way that we program this is what we call a circuit. We didn't get into that today, but it's just like text-based programming. And it makes it really easy because I'm just gonna mark it as completed. And I'm gonna move to the next section. Now, real quickly, if I didn't know what a lateral lunge was, or I just needed to see it, everything can be tagged to video. So I'm clicking in here and I'm seeing what an A skip is. There's some coaching points. I'm seeing what a B skip is. There's some coaching points. Here's a lateral lunge. Again, all of this your account comes equipped with this if you're using a tool like TrainHeroic, but even if you're using something like Excel, just tag, you know, hyperlink YouTube videos, right? So those things are in there. Right, and then I'm just going to move to the next section. So again, the training session is totally up to you on how you do it. This coach prescribed dumbbell floor press. He supersetted that with a one-arm dumbbell row, and he put some instructions in there. Hey, build to a heavy weight. I'm not going to be prescriptive. I'm not going to tell you how much. Here's your tempo, right? So maybe I'm programming for a specific athlete that has a dumbbell. So first set I hit 55, and in fact, there's some easy things to do. If I did the same thing all 4, I hit autofill 55 each time. And what you'll notice is there's some things, you know, we talk about like, you know, connection and keeping athletes engaged. Well, you'll notice as I actually log my training session, we start tracking volume for them. The phone actually buzzes in my hand as I go through this, right? So like watch this with one-arm dumbbell row, same thing. I'm using the same dumbbell. I did the same thing for every set. This thing up top ticks in real time. And again, the goal is it's kind of gimmicky, but it's meant to show them progress along the way and keep them going. So a couple things happen in the real world, right? You send somebody a program, perfect program. This is the best program in the world, follow it. Well, shoot, I don't have dumbbells anymore, right? So what the athlete can do is they can adjust what they did and give you that insight. So if I couldn't do dumbbell rows, I could swap the exercise, right? And so for me, I don't have dumbbells anymore. I have a TRX row, right? So I did TRX rows instead, and I'm gonna swap that. So my coach can now see that I did TRX rows. And there's no load, so I just did 4 by 10. In fact, I thought, because I was otherwise supposed to do it loaded, I should do more. So I added 6 sets, and I did 6 sets of 10. In fact, I felt crazy on the last set, and I did 31. Point in this is just like, you know, you can put whatever in there as an athlete, and your coach will see that stuff in real time. You can do this for your athletes as well. You can even do it from the phone. Right?
But where do the coaches see this? Because this is going to be no matter what. We're going to have to, like you said, we're going to connect with the athlete beforehand, but we have to connect with them afterwards to talk about how it went and adjust it for next time. So where do we see this, and then how do we make adjustments?
There's a few spots to see it, and we're actually I struggle sometimes keeping things like under reins. There's going to be a much easier way even to see it in the very near future. Okay. The goal is actually to launch something middle of the week, this coming week, to make it a little easier, that almost like mirrors what you see on Instagram, where I can just scroll through and see training card after training card after training card and then dive in if I need to. But right now it's actually quite easy to do as well. As a coach, there's a way to do it from your phone. And then Jim, there's a way to do it from a desktop too. And so when we complete this, we'll go through reviewing it. So cool. I won't bore you guys with all the specifics here. A lot of this is the same, right? Hey, 2 sets of max pull-ups, 2 sets of max push-ups. I'm going to skip this. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go to the next section, metabolic conditioning. Choose one of the following, keep a steady pace for 20 minutes, right? So you're just seeing some creative ways that coaches are programming. Again, if you wanted to, I could actually track some stuff about this, but this coach didn't care. He just wants them to do it, right? So I'm going to mark it as completed. And then I'm going to get to the last section of my training, and that's actually giving some feedback. So again, in the old world that we were living in, I could see the athlete and I could tell you, hey, they were on 8 on a 1 through 10 scale of intensity today. That was their rate of perceived exertion. Well, we need them to tell us now. Hey, it was a 7. You know, today you crushed me. It was a 9, right? So I'm going to make it a 5. We track how long it took, but this demo took 6 minutes. The actual training session took me 54. And I'm going to put some notes in here, like way too easy. Hey, my dumbbell broke. Good luck programming now.
Somebody asked if they can, if we can brand, like if you can put your own logo and stuff on the app so it looks like it's coming from somebody specifically.
Yeah, you can. You can. You're always going to download the TrainHeroic app, but like here, like this is like a demo kind of I set up for the Clippers, so that's what you're seeing here. It should look and feel like you. And even when they make the connection, it's hey, Coach Wright from the Clippers is connecting with you, so it should feel like your brand. The videos cool. in the movement demos are a really cool place to kind of put your brand in there too.
Yeah.
So here's what's happening, okay? The athlete finished the training session. We give them feedback. Here's some actual session comments as well, right? And here's their training card. If something deviated from what I programmed, I'm going to see it in yellow. We'll cross off what was supposed to happen. You'll see what was new, right? You're going to also see that like, hey, this actually wasn't completed. It's left just unfinished, right? And so this is the athlete's experience. Next step, we're going to go to the message boards. Okay. And so as a coach or an athlete, I can click on the message boards and we're going to see the option to message directly and then message teams and message entire teams. Okay. Or if we had people following a program, we could do that. But so I'm going to click on like teams and programs and we're going to go to a recent message. So here's just some banter between athletes, right? So I'm going to dominate this 2 mile, come get me, right? And so he puts this little picture of Rocky on there, a GIF, Kawhi says you're a clown, right? So this is just a way, again, we talk about creating community. Let's create that community. A nice tool is like a Facebook. Facebook's message, Facebook's like groups, like that coaching during quarantine is an example. Really cool place to create community. What we're trying to do here is create kind of one central place to do all those things. But as a coach, I could create community by doing something like maybe laying down a challenge like that, right? Hopefully your grammar is better than mine. But you can also like post something like a GIF, right? So make it fun. If that's kind of a role that you're playing, make this fun and interesting. You can read and react. So if somebody did this, right, I might hold that message down and put like a heart on it or laugh at it, right? So, and show them, hey, this is what we're doing now. This is how we're communicating with each other one way, right? Another really, really creative tactic is, think, what did I used to do? People would walk into the gym and I would talk to them. I'd let them know what to expect. Well, you can do that directly. So I'm going to actually click on the camera. I'm going to take a video and I'm just going to do this live with you guys. I'm going to flip it. I'm going to record. Hey guys, good luck today. Today's session is going to take you 55 minutes. Grab your dumbbell. Make sure that if your back knee is touching the ground, you're not letting that get scraped up. Good luck today. I'll see you guys on the message boards. Don't forget to submit your leaderboard result too. We're going to send out a free TRX to whoever's the top of the leaderboard today. All right. So then I'm going to use the video. So this is me doing what I used to do live, but I'm doing it through a team message board and I'm going to send it. Okay. And again, that doesn't need to be for a team. We're operating on a team now. And I know I kind of shifted worlds from individual to a team, but this could be direct, right? This can go right to, Kawhi, right? And I can do this right to him. So I can operate in both those settings and both those contexts. And that is just kind of a new tactic that I'm going to use to get in front of my client. Now, Jim asked a really good question. This is like the delivery side of it, right? I'm delivering that. Well, how do we review this? And so again, I'm going to start with the phone because I'm here. But as a coach, I'm going to click back to the starting point. When you download the app, here's what you're going to see. This is actually a coach's account. You're going to have your profile picture in the top. And because you're a coach, you have a drop-down menu. So if you click on your profile, I can see every one of my athletes. So what does that mean? Well, it means I can see what Kawhi did today. I can see what Joakim Noah did today. How? I'm actually just going to click on them. So this is their training card, right? He did this, but I can see everything that he did. In fact, I even have access, now we're back in the real world setting and I'm training them. I actually have access to click in here and actually log the training for him if I want. So as a coach, you have quite a bit of access. In fact, in a live training setting, or if maybe he messaged me on the message board and said, hey coach, I've got this weird kind of hip thing going on. I might jump into his training session and from my phone add an exercise. All right, hey, let's have you, hit a pigeon stretch. Spell it right, but let's have you hit a pigeon stretch. Maybe I add in, on top of pigeon stretch, I want you to do some I don't know, this won't make any sense, but let's have you do an isometric lunge hold. Okay, so I'm going to add 2 movements, and I'm going to come in and add like rep schemes. Hey, I want you to do, one at, I don't know, 60 seconds, a minute. So I'm adding, let's go do this lunge hold, same thing. I want 4 reps at 60 seconds, right? So again, not a great example, but in real time, I can go in here and I can add those things to his training. And now if he's training, he's seeing that in real time. That's just based on some communication. I prefer to do it at a computer. I prefer to program exactly how I showed you guys initially, but in real time, if I have to, the phone is such a nice tool to make these kind of small changes. So that's one way to see this. Now, if I look at my profile as a coach at the bottom, and let me kind of move my phone up a little bit. Maybe it's not covered. Can you guys see this notification, this bell here?
Yes.
Cool. So you're going to get notifications, okay? So by clicking that, you're going to get notified of everything that is important. So you'll see this thing here. Hey, Kawhi commented on a session, right? So-and-so commented on a session. Okay, when they finish sessions, when they comment, you're going to be able to see that. So I'm going to click here, and it might be a question in the session. We want you to know that immediately, right? And so then, all right, let's imagine this is a question. Hey, coach, what do you mean by dumbbell floor press, right? And so I'm going to view the session on the calendar. Let me dig in. All right, what's he talking about? I'm going to look at what's happening, and I'm going to comment. I'm going to comment back to him. So that's one way to do it, is just from your phone. I'm going to actually pull my screen back up as a coach. Give me a second here, guys. But we can do all this from our coach account as well. So, and again, I prefer to be at a desktop when I can. It could be like, it's when you're programming. I mean, programming from your phone. Would you program on Excel from your phone? Probably not. We try to make it a little bit easier than that. In fact, I think it's a really nice tool. But I'd start from the computer. Give me a second here. I logged out of this.
Well, I mean, Josh, I think your point is well taken. Like, you can on the app, you can do a million different things. You can change it if you need. You can send messages out to teams where the teams can interact, or you can make it like one-on-one. I mean, what I really like that you're showing though is, hey, no matter how we're doing this, like, we have to interact with people. We can't just send out programs, which is, I mean, to be honest, like, for the first couple of weeks, that's what I was thinking. Like, we just got to get programs out to people so they have something to do and it'll seem really nice. But now that things look like, at least in Michigan, like this is going to go on a lot longer, we're going to really have to start, interacting with people. Can you also talk about how we can start, everybody's going to charge a different amount and have a different way of doing this, but can you talk about how we can charge for this, and like, what are the options on TrainHeroic? Like, we could talk to people and just run their credit card or have them send us a check or whatever, I guess, for other things. Are there options on TrainHeroic, or do we just do it in, like we're normally doing it?
Yeah, cool.
Unless you had, sorry, I didn't mean to like stop what you were doing. I think everybody here is like seeing like, holy crap, this is a great way for us to interact with everybody. Like, we can do just about anything. We could be sitting in our bedroom and like interact with like hundreds of people if we wanted to. It's sweet. And we've been using it for a while. So I know it works once you get used to it.
Yeah. No, cool. I appreciate that, Jim. And here's what I say. Let's touch on charging people. Also, like, I can dive into what I've heard and seen about value and creating value, and how we take our existing business model and adjust it. And also, we're kind of playing with this deal of like, hey, we don't know how long this thing is going to last. Like, you also don't want to change your business so much that you're cutting margins and all those things. Like, we have a responsibility to all of our athletes to run a strong business, right? So quickly, just to kind of close the loop, and then we'll dive into charging people, and can you do it through TrainHeroic or which system? Just as it relates to like giving feedback and seeing what happens, top right-hand corner, you have those same icons you have on the app. Okay, you have a messaging center, you have a notification center. You guys should live there first. Okay, after everybody has what they need to do, get in there and see what's happening. you're doing this the right way. You're on this thing every day. Okay, you're messaging every day. And again, you don't need to use our tools. So if you're doing this with like a variety of tools, I'm texting every day, right? Or I've got some group text, right? That would be like our team chat, right? I've got some group text going out every day. I'm sending a video through that text. I'm greeting my athletes. I'm asking them to send back their programs on Excel or Google Docs so I can give some feedback, right? Make sure we're doing those jobs. We've got to do those jobs if we want to create the same type of value of this. So within TrainHeroic, start here, messaging and notifications. This tells you everything you need to see and it pushes it to you. Okay. And then importantly, each team or athlete, if I'm on their calendar, so I'm going to go to, what we were doing with an athlete, we can do with the team. Just when I send the programming out, it's going like that to 100 people. But if I go to Kawhi's calendar, and this is like typically what happens, I'm programming and I'm looking at, let's go to the 28th, right? I'm looking at what happened. Okay, hey, I see something that I like or don't like. I'm going to then message him from here, right? So you can message directly from here while you're on the calendar. I'm going to switch to another athlete. I'm going through my reviews. I'm looking at what Joe did. Hey, why'd you do 5, 5, 7, 8? What kind of rep scheme is that, right? I programmed 3 by 5. Like we're on a deload. I'm going to message the athlete right there. Okay. So same thing with the team. I'm reviewing the team. I see something I like. I see something I don't like. I'm messaging that team immediately. Okay. And so you can do all this stuff. Like we talked about, I can do it from the computer. The beauty is that when I'm on a team, I can say, hey, 2 of the 3 athletes on our team trained today. So imagine you're working with like a local team, 67 of the 80 trained today. Let the coach know, let them know that that's happening and message them, message the entire team at the same time. Right. And here's like what's on the message boards right now. So just to kind of close the loop on reviewing, there's also like a rich analytics layer. And so, that's one of the things using like Excel, that stuff is awesome. It's free and people are familiar with it. They can get it right now, but giving you that feedback, that's why I like Google Docs over Excel, but you kind of trade in some of the formatting. But the analytics and reports that will give you access to things like readiness, right? Looking at that over time, or compliance. Who's showing up? Right now it's about getting them to show up. You can't see them physically walk in the gym. So if we can give you a compliance report and show you team by team or athlete by athlete, that stuff's available. So I won't beat on this any longer, and I'm sure you guys are kind of sick of hearing my voice. But let's talk a little bit about like charging people. So here's kind of what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing. And let me preface this by saying I do not have the answers. Okay, I don't. And as we hear them, that coaching during quarantine group, I can't speak it highly enough about that group. It's really focused on business solutions for you guys. So, hey, how do I get rent forgiveness? How do I talk to my landlord? How do I, do some really creative things? And what are people doing really creatively in our industry? There's been over 1,000 coaches who have joined that thing. I think, I mentioned 3 or 4 days after it was created. And our team is leaning really heavily into that. We're not just trying to deliver features. We're really trying to solve problems and pain points for our coaches. And we're learning a lot from that group. And I think our coaches are teaching each other quite a bit. So I go there. One thing go ahead, Jim.
Not to interrupt you, but just so everybody here knows too, that on Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, we're going to be hosting another free webinar where we're going to be talking about that kind of stuff. So I thought it was really important for us to first, like Josh said, stop the bleeding. Like, can we get programs out to people? Can we start interacting with them? And then on Tuesday, we're going to be diving into stuff like that. How do you do rent forgiveness? How do you apply for these the SBA loans? Like, should you be laying people off? How do you help them? With all those kind of business things to kind of keep going. And a couple of coaches are going to be, that are business owners, are going to be taking us through that kind of stuff. So we're gonna cover that too, and I'll probably jump into that Facebook group. And Mike was just asking, the name of the Facebook group again is Coaching During Quarantine, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you go onto Facebook and search groups coaching under quarantine, that's where you're gonna find it. To get on that and then get on our webinar. Like there's a lot of people that are trying to get this information out and to have us all figure out. It's really cool to have that kind of community. So sorry to interrupt you. I know that you got a lot going. Keep going.
Cool. Yeah, no, I think I'll try to find the group. Here we are. I'll throw it on the screen for people to see. the coaching during quarantine.
During, sorry.
Yeah, no, that was me, Jim. I gave you the wrong name. So, I mean, you can see Ben's posting content on a daily basis, multiple times a day, hosting webinars with business minds, with coaching minds. There's a ton of really, really good information. Again, this thing was created, I think, 4 days ago. So there's quite a bit on here. And that doesn't just come from like the tech perspective. Hey, how do we do online training? It's, again, we're talking rent forgiveness. We're talking renting out equipment. We're talking, hopefully many of the things that you guys are dealing with today. People are learning really quickly. Like we don't have answers, but we're coming up with possible solutions, quite a bit.
Cool. Yeah. So coaching during quarantine, not under quarantine. And Tuesday night at 6 is that other webinar, and check your email for that information, or you can check on the IYCA Facebook page. It's got links to all that. That's also free. Sorry. So you were going to talk about charging and how you're doing that. I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm hearing people say things like, oh, keep charging what you're charging and, because you're still delivering the same amount of value. I'm having other people say, well, that's really hard for me to do because I don't feel like I am delivering the same amount of value. And part of that is because we're not used to this. So we're not used to this online programming. Part of it is like, we're not in front of the person. They can't use our equipment. We can't give them feedback. I think giving athletes programs is different than giving, an adult fitness client a program where they can kind of do it on their own. They don't need as much feedback. They can get a workout in and burn some calories. If you're trying to like correct somebody's mechanics, it's much it's much more difficult. So you may need to do some other things to deliver that value. And I think that the key is we all have to figure out like, okay, how much can we give them? How much value can we give them? How many videos can we send them? How much time on FaceTime? How much time on TrainHeroic? How much time can we spend and value can we give them? And then we're going to have to each decide how much we're going to be able to charge for that. I do think that, once the here's your free home workout video craze on Instagram is over, we're going to have to get back to charging people, or you're just going to have to shut down and apply for a business loan and hope this ends. You're going to have like one of those two choices. So like you said, Josh, not everybody's going to know what to charge. But we're each going to kind of have to figure that out on our own. What have you been hearing on the Facebook page or different people?
Yeah, I've heard a variety of different things. And I think you need to really adapt this for your context, right? For the types of clients and athletes and members that you're coaching, the market that you're in, and also what those people are going through. So you're in some industries like, if I have a gym in Silicon Valley, right, where maybe I'm not affected as much from a financial standpoint because I'm working in a tech job and I can still do the thing, pay what I was paying. I'm approaching that different than if I'm, I guess maybe inner city New York, and I know nobody's getting into our gym because everybody's actually quarantined to a small apartment building or something. So you can't take anything that you're seeing out there and just blanket apply it. I'd say like in software, we've learned painfully over the amount of time that we've been doing this that you should iterate and test really small. So rather than applying some policy that's untested, that's not tried and true on everybody, go approach your most trusted members and address their concerns, their pain, and then maybe try something on that member, right? And come up with the logic around it. So one thing that I heard that really resonated with me is, hey, we were previously charging members $159 a month. And here's what they were getting. It was access to equipment. It was access to our staff. It was access to our different services that we had, and they no longer have that. So what we did is we tried to put together a package to create $159 worth of value per member, because $159 is what we need to make per member, based on what we have going on to make this thing work. And so for that reason, the coach put together, okay, here's the package. And I'm making that specific package up. But we were otherwise doing, this is something that he said, we were otherwise doing group training. Everybody was doing group training. Well, I have a staff of 5, and we had the capacity to give people personalized training. And it wasn't personalized training in the sense that everybody was getting their own program. because they couldn't possibly do that. But what they did is, using a tool like TrainHeroic, they had coaches assigned to different members, and those coaches would follow up with those members. So what that means is that maybe I was looking at a group and I was clicking on a specific athlete and I was looking at what they did. And I know that athlete. I've trained with them, or they've trained with us for quite some time. And so when I saw the program that was prescribed today, or the training, I told them, hey, I want you to hit this Metcon in this way, or I want you to approach these push-ups in this way. On your last set, you burn yourself out way too early, way too fast. We're doing 3 sets of max push-ups. I want you to be consistent across all 3 sets. So now that feels personal. And really all it was is the same product paired with some communication. So that was a commitment that he made to his members. So his message was, look, before we were doing group training, we're not going to reduce your price. What we're going to do is increase the value that you're getting. And one way that we can do that right now is through personalized training. You're going to be directly connected with the coach. We're going to make sure that you understand what's happening, that we're following up with you after. So afterwards, it'd be the same thing. Hey, we talked about doing it this way. Awesome job. I saw this, right? How are you feeling? So those are ways to personalize the training to deliver a little bit more value. Another layer that they added in was doing Zoom calls. So they had 1 or 2 or 3 live training sessions, I can't remember, each day, but they literally had a Zoom computer set up and they were talking to the camera. It was limited. Like, you could only do it at, I think it was like 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. or something like that. Maybe they had a lunchtime thing deal going too. And then they would talk to the members live, go through the training session, right? And they had 2 coaches doing that. So one coach is kind of calling things out. So you're sort of delivering this kind of live experience as well. And then they did personal Zoom calls. They called it accountability sessions with members as well. And I think that was like once a week. So you really have to look at resources. What can I do? And don't do it to everybody initially, because I think you put yourself really in a tough spot where if you commit to do something for the members, you have to know that you can do that. So test it small, test with 1, test with 5, test with 15, right? You can kind of tier that rollout. And like we apply that type of thing to software all the time. We have a feature, we don't give it to everybody first. We sort of release it slowly and say, where is it breaking? What feedback are we getting before we create like real pain for ourselves or for our members?
Well, that's a great idea. And if you're not using this app, or you have it and you're not real good with it, or if you're going to do Excel or whatever it is, you should probably get, like, you can get a free 14-day trial here and just use it with like 3 or 4 people. Don't try to get everybody on it. Same with if you're going to do it on Excel, if you're going to do Facebook Live, like, try it out on a couple people. If it works, great, then you can scale it. If it doesn't, then you can tweak it and then you can scale it. So I think that's a really good point that you made. Like, try it on a couple people first to make sure you know what you're doing before you screw it up for everybody.
Yeah, thematically, I'm really trying to dial in this concept of like, aim small, start fast, and stop the bleeding. And I really do think that in 2 minutes, not kidding, 2 minutes, you can connect with a member, right? It's as easy as just going to athletes on our side. If you're not using our system, there are good training softwares out there, right? There's other systems that do this. Find the one that you like, that works, that you're willing to stick to, right? All these things are like hammers. It's about how you swing the hammer. We're going to do our best to support our coaches on how to swing this thing. But like, if I wanted to stop the bleeding right now, I just invite, right? I send one-on-one to one person or to a whole team. I hit next, I punch in an email address, and then I just add one workout. Literally just want to work out. I don't want a training program. I don't want to design my training library. Now's not the time for that. We're fighting this like very urgent battle. Let's stop the bleeding. And once we have that Band-Aid on, then let's go back and add layers of paint to this thing and make it really a beautiful product for our clients and for our members. But you're spot on, Jim. Let's just go small.
So, all right. So I'm going to let people ask questions and then we'll kind of wrap it up, unless people want to keep asking questions. But it seems to me like the first thing we have to do, if we're going to do anything online and deliver programs, virtually, we're going to have to get into our customer list. We're going to have to go through the people who we're currently training. We're going to have to start calling them or emailing them, somehow contacting them personally. We're going to have to probably ask them, what do you have available to you? I loved what you said, Josh. Connect with them and say, what's your new goal? Because if you've been training somebody for track season's probably done. Let's be honest. Like, at least in Michigan, I don't think kids are going to have any sports seasons this spring. So what's next? What are you going to be training for? if it's, you know, if somebody comes back and says like, I'm done, I'm a senior, I'm going to college. Okay, well, you may not be able to help that person, or you can offer them, you know, like a fitness class. But if somebody says, okay, well, I got to now get ready for my summer season or whatever it is. Okay, that's your new goal. Here's what we can do for you. Create however you're going to do it, some pricing, or if it's for teams, and say, here's what we can do, get them on something right away, and then start connecting with them with, you know, with the feedback on whatever platform you're going to do. I think if you're not going to use this to give feedback, you're going to have some sort of a spreadsheet with you know, columns, so you can say contacted on this date and contacted on this date. Otherwise, if you've got 50 clients, you're going to start forgetting like, who did I talk to today, and who do I need to talk to? Whereas something, you know, like TrainHeroic, it's kind of there. Like, you can already see if you've connected with them. It makes it a lot easier. For us, we're gonna have to get in touch with a lot of parents, because a lot of parents are gonna be paying for this. We're gonna have to figure out how they're gonna pay for it. If we're gonna use just the TrainHeroic marketplace and deliver more generic programs, or if we're gonna do one-on-one things, or is it with a team? Get the payment going, talk to them about what's available, and then keep connecting with them. It's going to be a lot of work. This is going to be a lot of work, just like our regular jobs have been. Instead of being exhausted because you're out on a field for 8 hours a day, we're going to be exhausted because you're on your phone or on you know, on email, possibly 8 hours a day. Am I missing anything on how we can deliver value? I think this is super valuable for me to understand, okay, here's how we can connect with these people without just saying, okay, here's your program. Like, we're going to have to be all over these people, connecting with them. Am I missing anything, Josh?
No, I mean, you're spot on, man. You're spot on. I think managing multiple systems has its own, you know, its own pain points in it. It's totally doable though. I mean, you guys can do it. There's free stuff. There's a lot of free stuff out there. You know, I kind of wrote down from like a sales standpoint, there's free software out there. HubSpot has HubSpot's like a marketing firm, but they have like a free software to, it's a CRM software for sales. It's like a Salesforce kind of equivalent, but it's free and it's really good. That'd be something that I'd recommend checking out if it's about selling. But, you know, one thing, this is maybe for me more personally, but you know, so my mom's this 70-year-old music teacher, fresh off the boat from Austria. Okay, she goes door to door and teaches piano physically to people, right? So you imagine she's pretty at risk right now, right? Being in that age group, and she needs to make money because in my parents' situation, she's the breadwinner. Okay, so she doesn't have like some big retirement saved up. So my mom's thinking, you know, how the heck am I going to do this? And you know, her son works at a tech company, right? I've been doing this for a long time. I work with coaches and athletes, sort of like students and teachers to a degree. And without talking to me, my mom figured out how to teach piano on a Zoom and on FaceTime. And so she now doesn't have to drive to people's homes, and she's delivering piano lessons on Zoom. And it's really freaking cool to see. And so the point of me bringing that up is my mom had some anxiety around this new solution. She thought, you know, how could I charge for this? So she wanted to give away free lessons. And, you know, I thought to my mom, I said, Mom, not only can you charge for this, you could charge double, because you can start showing up twice a week instead of once, because kids got nothing to do. Their parents would just love to have them in piano lessons for an extra hour. So while they're working, they're not just there. And this is a real opportunity for you. And I think, like, as a community, as, you know, as an industry, we're looking at this like, these are a bunch of problems. And I really want to challenge the group to just think, how is this an opportunity? Because you have to think, you know, in terms of your athletes. Like, let's take, you know, our high school athletes or our youth athletes. Could you imagine being a high school or youth athlete and getting your season stripped from you? The sweat, the blood, the tears, the hopes that they've had, but there's no season. So let's really like put ourselves in their shoes and say, how can I solve that problem? Rather than how could I solve my problem of keeping the rent, you know, keeping the lights on and all that. If we could solve their problem, I think our problems are going to be just fine. Like, literally, I think we'll be just fine. And so some cool things I'm seeing are like actually creating competitions for athletes. We work with the Good Athlete Project, and Jim at the Good Athlete Project is putting together a powerlifting competition. It'll go through TrainHeroic, but now you have an event. right? So now my coaching is for a purpose. There's an event, and beyond me and what I'm doing, I'm able to put some motivation and some connection and some real why behind what that athlete's doing. But I don't need to necessarily just operate under, hey, there's no spring season anymore. The spring season doesn't have to be over, right? And so we just need to be creative in thinking of how we can solve those problems. And I think if we open up our eyes as coaches, we can see those things everywhere. Think about the parents that your athletes, the parents of your athletes. What problems do they have now with the athlete around? How can I program in such a way that it'll be so sticky to them? So what I mean by that is, can we get the athlete out of the house but still keep it safe? Can we get them like running, can we get them doing something where we're really solving problems? And both those examples probably aren't good examples. I think the competition one is something we really need to dial into. And then think about your coaches, right? So it's not just you, but all right, I have a coaching staff. And I'm thinking about, how can I not lay them off? Well, what if this is an opportunity, because every school in the district isn't in school now, right? And those athletes all lost their season. So what if I fortified my coach and said, hey, go reach out to all these schools. We have this tool. Again, if it's TrainHeroic, great. But if not, put together a package, right? Excel, email, all these things. Let's go train teams. They need training. They need connection. They need community. They need competition. We have an opportunity now. We have this market of people that need us for the first time. And I think, like, for that reason, I joked with Jim before this. I said, Ben and I haven't slept since this thing started, because there's so much opportunity to help people. And that's, what we stand for. And I think just as an industry, like coaches, that's what we stand for, is helping people. And I would urge you guys to see the opportunity in these things, and don't think about this like, I was this, now I need to be this. I was this, but maybe I had just a poor definition of what I was, right? I thought I was my gym, but no, you were you. You've always been you. Let's go figure out how to bring you to a lot of people that need you. And sorry for my rant, but that's just kind of how I feel about this whole thing.
Let me throw a couple questions at you. And that brought up, like, if you have other people on staff, can you show us, like, how do we add, or can you add coaches onto an account so that other people can be interacting with athletes?
Yeah, 100%. So it depends on how we set it up. We've got some gym setups that have, like, the GM or the gym or the owner really own the account, and then we add their coaches separately, kind of as their own business. The reason we do that is sometimes you have 300 people in the gym, and you don't want this trainer to get all the notifications and all that. You want them to have their kind of separate book of business. We can set it up so you can still see what they're doing, but they can't see everything else happening in the gym. That's one way to set it up. We call that like a separated setup, right? Where the coach drives their own business. Typically, your whole staff is sort of under one umbrella, which means that if John creates a program, and then Bill does, and then Susie does, and Tiffany does, they're all able to see the same thing. So if somebody creates a team or an athlete or training session in their library, it's all under kind of one roof. So adding a coach right now, it's goofy. It's almost embarrassing to say, but there will be soon kind of a button for a coach to say, add a coach. Today, you need to email us, and you email support@trainheroic.com and say, hey, Joe Smith at training.com needs an account. And it's a 2-minute process for us to set up, but that's what it takes to get done. We add $20 per coach per month to add a coach account.
Okay. Otherwise it's all one account, right?
Exactly. Otherwise it's one account.
Okay. People asked, this is a pretty easy question. Can you do online scheduling on the app? I think you could use Calendly if you don't have something like that, or you just have to use your own whatever you're using right now to set up training times. I think you would continue using that, but I don't know. Can you do that on TrainHeroic?
Yeah, the way you can't. The way you schedule in TrainHeroic is date specific, but not time specific. So the way that I've seen that kind of manifest in TrainHeroic is people using links like Calendly or some scheduling software and using the message board to communicate that. Hey, sign up for a session. But you're not actually, when I program a session for an athlete or for a team, like if I were to click on Joe's calendar as an example, I'm doing it on a day and not necessarily on a time. So there's quite a bit of like a gym management software that TrainHeroic does not cover. We don't touch that stuff. Like we won't touch like member management type stuff. And we just don't. I mean, we're a small shop. There's 22 of us here. And so we're good at some things and we kind of stay away from some others that aren't really our strengths. That being one.
All right. So billing questions. Can you go over that? Can you run clients' payments through TrainHeroic, or do we just do our own billing systems? What are the options there?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, we do run payments through TrainHeroic. It's a bit of a different setup. So everything we look at here, when we invite somebody, we're inviting them to connect with us for free. When you create a team, same thing. You can invite people to connect with you for free. When you do create a team, you also create what's called an access code. That gives people free access. And here's kind of my recommendation for what it's worth. If I'm already charging somebody through my system that I'm using at the gym, keep doing it. For a bunch of reasons. One is to make a purchasing decision right now is a little bit harder than it was yesterday, right? For everybody involved. So we don't want them to have to pull out their credit card again to make that decision if it's seamless and easy, and most of all, if it's possible, to keep them in the system. Keep building them that way. This is just a new way to connect with them. You know, and so there is a way though for you as a coach to bill through TrainHeroic. And so the way that works is when I set up a team, okay, there's going to be, we have this thing called an online marketplace. Okay. And so let's say the LA Clippers is a team I want to sell access to, monthly access. There's something called team settings, and there's an option for the marketplace. This is not something, you know, Jim, you mentioned free trial. We don't actually enable this until you're an official paying customer. So you actually just won't have this option. But 14 days, you guys, this thing's totally free. So one thing I'd actually recommend is if you don't have a tool right now, get on a trial and just take the trial. There's no credit card before or anything. Like everything is 100% free, and we give you everything except for access to this marketplace. Okay. So, I mean, you can, you know, I said, aim small, start fast, stop the bleeding. You know, I mean, do it for free. And I'll give you guys the link here afterwards on where to do that. But if you wanted to charge through TrainHeroic, you invite people to a team, you hit yes, that you want to sell it. Okay. And then you're going to get a unique link. You're going to set the price monthly or annually. The way this works is TrainHeroic actually collects all the money. Historically, we've taken a 30% fee from our athlete or from our coach for everything that came in. So you charged 100, we took 30. And that really stopped a lot of people from doing this. And we even would say as a team, hey, if you're getting people to pay you at the gym, do that. That's a better way to do this. This was designed when we designed it for remote coaching. Like I'll give you guys an example, and I'll close the loop on this too, to talk about how we're handling it today. But here's a group we work with. We worked with these guys for a long time. They're fantastic. They've trained, they're high-level coaches. They get it. They've been in this industry. Like John Wellborn played in the NFL for a dozen years. His staff is brilliant. They go around. They were the original CrossFit football guys. They go around putting on seminars everywhere. They put out fantastic programming, more importantly, really fantastic content. What they do through TrainHeroic and what they've done for a long time is they sell access to, they call it training programs here, but really these are teams. They're monthly subscriptions that people belong to. So when they started, John was putting out this team called Feel Strong, and he would you know, create content and say, hey, if you want to join our team and train with us, that's just like if you want to join our gym, right, and train with us, click here. And so he created Feel Strong, and Feel Strong was $27 a month, right? He talks about on his website what it is, right? Here's the details. This is what you should expect. He has some images from TrainHeroic. They do all their own videos and all that on here. You can download the app, but people can get started right away so they can continue. And then this brings him to his, we call it a brand page on TrainHeroic, but this is something you get from us. Okay. So when you go to the marketplace, like I just showed you from the app, you create this page with images, some about stuff. This can be as long as you want. Here's a video on kind of why you should do this. Here's other options they have. So these are other teams. They're selling them for, you know, $27 to $15 a month. They also sell programs. Anybody that does this, that goes through this. So like I'm going to sign up for Jack Street. As an example, I hit sign up. I put my credit card in. TrainHeroic collects that money, and we pay our coaches at the end of each month. So again, I mentioned historically, we had taken a 30% split. We're aggressively working. When I say aggressively, we are very close to working on making that more accessible, given the you know, current state of where we're at. So I think, you know, today, realistically, charging members through TrainHeroic and taking a 30% slash, if I'm a gym owner, I'm not doing that. If we come out with a better solution for you to grow your membership, your today membership. If I was going after new business, like, hey, I want to go get this school and I want to go get these athletes, you know, here or there, and I'm going to create this option for them to do it. Maybe I'm much more comfortable with that, but I'm not taking my existing base and slashing that by 30% to use an online tool. I wouldn't suggest that, but hang with us and I'll follow up with all of our coaches, and we will, because we're, again, aggressively looking to make this much more, I guess, attainable or, you know, make it much more reasonable to start.
One other question here. Where is it? Billy asked, how would we propose this to a coach of a team to get athletes on board? So he trained a team this preseason, so he has a relationship with a coach. So how do you then get all of the athletes on there? Do you just send it to the coach, or how does that work?
Yeah. Jim, you know what I'll do is let me send you the specific messaging so we can help with the messaging.
Okay.
But here's how easy it is. Okay. You're going to go to teams. Tactically, you're going to create a team. Okay. So let's say that we're training East High School. Okay. It's going to be East High School. I'm going to give an access code for East High School. It's going to be East High School class of, I don't know, 2024. Okay. So this access code is what they'll need. I'm going to communicate that to the coach. So my communication to the coach is, hey, I'm going to deliver all the training through TrainHeroic. This is what it means for you. Okay. We're going to give you guys not only a program, but access to me. I'm going to communicate with them. I'm going to communicate with you, right? They're going to get video instruction, so on and so forth. And Jim, I'll give you that language that the coaches can use, but you hit create team, go give that access code to the coach. But importantly, just like we did with our athlete, let's make this thing ready to go. So I'm going to create some programming. I'm going to add something for my library. Maybe I'm doing this 5 or 10 times. I'm going to go to programs and I'm going to add the 4 weeks preseason program that I created, right? And hey, they're going to start the thing on Monday. So I hit go and I add it to the calendar. So, I mean, realistically, and then so we'll add the entire program, right? So it's 3 days a week. I look at it. Oh, shoot, I forgot. These guys can't get to a facility on Wednesday. Let me go and quickly adjust these 3 training sessions, right? So there's things that you can do to take a template and adjust it. But long story short is that's the communication you have with the coach. You work the billing out with that coach, but you're connected to them immediately. And here's the thing: every school in the district's in this situation, right? Go connect with all of them. Go deploy your coaching staff to connect with all of them because it's a real need.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I don't want to make this too long, so let's wrap this up. If you guys have questions that I can help you with, you can always email me. You probably have my email address, jim@iyca.org, or if they want to get in touch with somebody directly at TrainHeroic, either with questions or they want to get signed up. I know that I sent out information on how to get that free trial. You can email trials@trainheroic.com. Where else? There you go. You can go to start a trial at www.trainheroic.com. It's in there. You can also go to the Facebook group Coaching During Quarantine, and then Josh has his personal email on there as well. So lots of resources for us to get started. Awesome stuff, man. I really appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday, and not that there are days anymore, it seems like, but yeah, thank you so much, and thanks everybody for being here. Hopefully this helps, and we can kind of, like Josh said, stop the bleeding a little bit. All right, guys.
Later. Appreciate it, Jim. And hey, I'll send you, Jim, if you can communicate, I'll send over messaging, how to just propose some messaging, and I'll put these things and links to them in that I'll send to you. And then you and I can jam on how to get this out to everybody here.
Perfect. That's awesome.
Sweet.
Thanks, guys.